Hi, hello. We've got a sizable update for you today. Starting with, Lee Anderton has made a response video to the previous video uploaded about his involvement with Victory, the lack of disclosures, and so on. And as far as responses go, it's a pretty good one. I can certainly say I've seen a lot worse. But I do have to make a couple of comments, a couple of observations on it. I also want to address a few of the general questions that I saw on the last video in the comments. I think that some people were intentionally missing the point, but others had some genuine questions and just wanted some further explanation, and that's no problem, we can do that now. But first, a big piece of news. Lee has been in contact with me, and he's told me that the Advertising Standards Authority, that's the body that governs disclosure in advertising in the UK, has been in contact. Here's what he said. The Advertising Standards Agency, ASA, have been in touch following your video, as they received 3 complaints about Anderton's promoting Victory amps without me disclosing my interest in the brand. The ASA have asked me to add a line in all future videos declaring any personal financial interests I have in any brands we promote, which I will start doing from today. They have confirmed that this action will resolve the complaints and no further action will be taken. And they also confirmed that I did not have to retrospectively add this disclosure to any videos released prior to the advice. The ASA publish their rulings every Wednesday, and today is Thursday, so we're going to have to wait a week until we can see that ruling. We might do a short video just looking at that next week, kind of to cap things off, but we still have several things to talk about. I want to start with this again, because I mentioned it in the last video a couple of times, and I thought it was very clear, but people still seemed to miss it. There is no problem with Lee Anderton owning or investing in any companies, any businesses that he wants to. None at all. The issue arises when one does that and keeps it a secret when advertising the products. That's the problem. Those disclosures are not only ethically required, but legally required. And if no one calls it out, then nothing will change. And as we've just seen, when you do call it out, things do change. They have changed. So now we're going to take a look at Lee's response video. Now, this came out before any of the ASA stuff. That's why it doesn't mention any of that. So it came out a couple of days ago. But let's take a look.
Hey everybody, it's Lee here, and I just wanted to do a quick post to respond to the video that went up on KDH's channel on Sunday about my involvement in Victory amplification. I've made some notes on my phone, so I'm going to be referring to those in this video, so apologies if it looks like I'm reading off of a bit of paper. But firstly, I'd like to thank Keelan for putting out the video in a pretty fair and factual manner. Obviously, I knew something was coming because 6 or 7 weeks ago, Keelan contacted me to ask me a question about my involvement in Victory, which I duly gave him, and he printed what I said in that video. However, I read through quite a few of the comments over the last day or so. There's lots of speculation which isn't really accurate, so I thought I'd do this post just to try and clear everything up once and for all. So we've got to go back to about 2011 when Victory was first mooted as an idea following the demise of the Cornford amp brand that Martin Kidd used to design and Anderton's used to sell lots of, and I liked very much. A group of us got together, decided to form a simple trading partnership. It was just a very quick and easy way to get going, and we decided to create an amp brand called Victory Amps.
First observation, the thing that stood out to me, was the language has changed a bit. If you recall, when Lee was talking about Victory, it was them and the guys at Victory. Now it's changed to us and we. I'm not knocking that. It's a good thing. It's much more clear, but it's an observation.
It suited us to use a trading partnership, a simple trading partnership, because that type of company keeps the investors' names out of the public domain. It's not the same as a limited liability company. That suited me because I was concerned that if I was involved or Anderton's was associated with the brand, that perhaps it would put other retailers off, especially UK-based retailers, off from stocking it. And secondly, one of the other partners is involved with the factory that makes Victory amplifiers, and he was concerned that if his name was associated with Victory, it might make relationships with other brands that are built in that factory unnecessarily complicated. To be honest, it wasn't the best kept secret in the world.
But it was kept a secret. I think it would be remiss of me to not point out that the answer to my question that I initially asked has changed somewhat. You might recall I asked Lee whether his involvement with Victory was intentionally kept a secret or not, and the answer was that's for the people to decide. Post-video, the answer is that it was kept a secret.
And within 4 or 5 years, all the brands, all the AMP brands that Anderton's buys and sells all knew about my involvement with Victory. Retailers that were stocking it knew, staff in Anderton's knew, artists using it knew. So, as I said, it wasn't like a massively kept secret.
I don't know, that kind of makes it sound like that's a lot of people, but it wasn't really. Like, other brands, Anderton's employees, and Victory artists. It's not really a lot of people when you think about it. And I point this out because it's the most important part. The people that were actually being advertised to didn't know. And that's the group of people that had the legal right to know.
As I said in the quote to KDH, I've never been directly employed in any kind of official capacity at Victory. I'm very much, sort of an arm's length investor. But I guess, please remember again, this is going back 10, 11 years to when the brand was first started. I do, with what I know now, I do accept that perhaps I could have been more open about it to the people watching our YouTube videos.
That's good, and I'm happy to hear that.
When Keelan asked me to comment for the video he was going to put out, I was happy to do so. Had no reason to lie about anything because I certainly don't regret making the investment that I did when Victory started. I thoroughly enjoy the contribution that I make to the team at Victory. I love talking to Martin about amp designs. It was never my intention to try to mislead anyone into thinking that Victory amplifiers were anything other than what they are, which is a very fine British-built range of guitar amps and pedals.
I understand that Lee prefaced this video with he was responding not only to me but comments on that video, but just to be very clear here, that wasn't something that I accused him of. I mentioned bias and subconscious bias, which is absolutely a thing. Simply informing the viewer that you have an extra level of involvement is all that's required to satisfy the legal requirements, as well as give the viewer and potential customer all the information they need to critically think about the potential bias.
With regards to some of the other brands that I'm involved in that Keelan mentioned, yes, I am a shareholding director of Chapman Guitars, same with Burns Guitars. The other brands he mentioned, which are East Coast Guitars, Landlord Pedals, and another brand that he didn't mention, but it's all part of the same thing, is Auto Accessories. Those three brands are part of a buying group. The ownership of those brand names are held by a buying group that I'm involved with. If you're not sure what a buying group is, it's pretty common in retail. It's just where you get together with some other retailers to look at sourcing products, branding them in your own brand, if you like, and then you buy collectively because buying in those bigger quantities enables you to hit sort of, either better pricing or minimum order quantities from those factories. And I have to say, I think on all three of those brands, that buying group has done a great job of sourcing some amazing value products, which allows us to compete with other retailers who source their own brand products.
Yep, and again, no problem with that at all. The issue that I had was the same as before. The proper disclosures, or lack thereof, when advertising those products. Clearly,
it's quite complicated, balancing the needs of running a retail business, being financially involved with some of the brands that we sell, and also running a pretty influential YouTube channel. I've always encouraged everybody in our YouTube team to be completely open and honest with their opinions on the products that we feature on the channel. With blindfold challenges and stuff like that, I think it's pretty obvious that, I'm not afraid to sort of throw curveball winners out there and stuff like that. However, I think it's important that everybody watching the Anderton's YouTube channel does accept that first and foremost we are a business, and the YouTube channel is designed to promote that business. Hopefully it's done in a trustworthy and honest way, but yeah, just please accept, again, wherever you're watching from in the world, Anderton's is first and foremost a retail business that needs to sell products to you to stay in business.
And again, no problem with that either, but businesses should abide by the standards set by the Advertising Standards Authority. I'm just kind of repeating myself.
So just to wrap up, I do want to say I'm really happy and would like to thank Keelan for putting that video out. It clarifies the situation with regards to, different brands that I'm involved with. And it's nice now to feel like it's all in the open.
While I'll accept the thanks, I do feel that it really shouldn't have got to the point where it needed me to say something for it to be put out in the open. This was hidden for 10 years, and as Lee mentioned, he did have a heads up that I was working on this, and that was several weeks ago. And to be frank, if he had released a video like this then, or any time prior, it probably would have taken a good portion of the wind out of the sails of the video. But he didn't, and it took a video to be put out and get this information that should have been disclosed a long time ago out into the public, and it shouldn't have. That's been the criticism the whole time.
I'd also like to thank everybody that's posted a nice comment, a supportive comment about me, and especially the ones that decided to get in touch directly. It's always nice to get those messages. I do want to apologise to anybody that perhaps feels let down or misled because I haven't been more open about my involvement with Victory Amplifiers. It is really important to me that I'm able to run a business with honesty and integrity, and hope you understand perhaps some of the reasons why that information wasn't made so public. Finally, if you do want to put a comment against this video, or you're involved in a comments thread on the original KDH video, please, let's just make those comments respectfully, politely, and avoid getting into aggressive slanging matches.
That's fair and respectful, and I agree.
That's it. Many thanks for watching. I really hope this clears things up once and for all. I shall be making more videos today, putting videos out today, and I hope you enjoy watching them. And again, thanks for watching this. See you next time.
So that was the response video, and you know what? As far as response videos go, not too shabby. I can say I've certainly seen a hell of a lot worse. And we've got a resolution now. That's a good thing. Now, there were some general questions, ideas, and sentiments that were in the comments of the last video, so I would like to briefly address those. Let's start with the first question, which was, some people had, how is Lee's involvement any different than just buying a share in a publicly traded company? And it's a good question, and it's very different. And the answer also tackles another question that I saw a few times, or more of an idea. It was people's issue with me referring to Lee as an owner or co-owner. They wanted him to be referred to as an investor. Well, there's a little bit of confusion here, and I think this kind of revolves around people's interpretation of the word investor. Well, it's perfectly adequate to describe Lee's involvement as an investor, because he did invest in the brand. Investing, or an investor, those words can mean very broad things. And that's on me. I should have explained in more detail what a traditional partnership is, so I'm going to do that now, and it'll tackle both those questions. A partnership will be implied by the law when two or more people are in a business relationship together with the view to making a profit. In a business partnership, you're running a business as a self-employed individual, but with the other partners. You share responsibility for the business jointly. This is not a limited liability company. This is a partnership, and what that means is the liability is actually much more solely on the individuals involved. So, in our stock example, if you bought a Microsoft share and Microsoft got sued or something, the worst thing that would happen is that your stock price goes down. That's it. Whereas with a partnership, the brand getting sued is actually you personally getting sued. There is much more involvement because you are jointly responsible for the business. While it's more than accurate to refer to Lee as an investor, it's also more than accurate to refer to him as one of 9 owners or a co-owner of the brand, because it's a traditional partnership, and therefore he and 8 other people are jointly responsible for the business. As far as advertising standards go, people had a couple of questions. We'll briefly touch on this. This is the UK's version. If you own, in full, co-own, or in part, and as we've just discussed, Lee is certainly in part, he's one of 9, or he's definitely can be described as a co-owner too, or are employed by a brand and use your social media accounts to promote its products, you must make this known and clearly label these posts as ads. And then they link to one of the rulings for some information. Now that's from the Advertising Standards Authority in the UK, and that's being mentioned in this because Andertons are based in the UK, and that is the body that, as we've just seen, has actually enforced it in this case. But the idea isn't strictly to the UK either. There are similar authorities in a lot of different places around the world that enforce the same things. It's consumer protection, and honestly, it's rather disappointing to see the general attitude of some people thinking that this doesn't matter. Disclosures are legally required to prevent customers from being taken advantage of. They are the standard, quite literally the advertising standard, and anything less is substandard. I'm pleading with you to demand the bare minimum, the standard. You know, I used to often wonder why so many musicians were being taken advantage of, but it's no mystery to me anymore. It's the attitude. And finally, I'd like to address another common comment on the last video, which was that seemingly everybody and anyone knew that Anderton's was involved in Victory. But here are the facts. Anderton's involvement was intentionally kept a secret. For the last 10 years, the same question has popped up across different forums online, and no one knew then. There was no disclosure in any Anderton's Victory video ever. Those rare few that did ask the question in the comments on Anderton's videos were not answered, and when someone did actually ask Lee directly whether Anderton's was involved, or Anderton's had ownership, the answer was no. I think perhaps what we're seeing is hindsight being 20/20. Very few people knew. Now, some people may have had theories or assumptions, but that's not the same thing as knowing. And then I have to ask, how many videos did it take for you to get to this conclusion? Surely you would have to watch a decent amount to be able to determine, based off behaviour and frequency of the products used, that Anderton's had some form of investment. The point is, and it's been the same point all along, it was intentionally hidden and not disclosed. You have to demand better, or it will never get better. So that's the video. It's essentially case closed, though we will maybe cap it off with the ASA report next week. But yeah, it's case closed. We have a resolution. All is well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.